Welcome to Key Conversations, a Making It in the Music Business podcast. My goal for this podcast is to help you learn from these conversations with both experts and working musicians and serve as a guide to assist your career in the process. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Englehart. Let's get going. All right, we're back with another musician edition where we are featuring a hardworking musician who's creating his own dream career. He's also open to a little guidance and brave enough to be in my hot seat today. So welcome Dan Barton, who is a media composer. He's gotten his work on commercials with Tide, Fanta, Capital One. I got that right. And he's also one half of the piano pop duo, the Barton Brothers.
That's
so
correct.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is your band made up of you and a brother?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Totally got it. And are you full-time music creator person?
As of now, about 50%, and that's a brand new transition. So I'm in the thick of the transition. It's really exciting and terrifying time.
Awesome. It is really exciting. So what do you have in place that is helping you make that transition? Like when did you decide you were going to go from full-time to full-time work to full-time musician? And what do you have going on that's been working that you're able to do it?
Right. Well, about a year and a half ago, I got a super basic, pleasant administrative job in Boston that really allowed for a lot of flexibility. My roommate works there and he's an opera singer, and they let him leave for the summer to do opera contracts and things like that. So I kind of got the hint that this is something that might wind up being flexible. And I was really aching to just jump ship and go full time. But luckily about last fall, I pitched doing some work from home, being in office a couple of days a week while I muscled out some more time for music. And some of that is balanced out by some freelance recording work that I do and some ASCAP royalties here and there and a custom scoring job here and there and a live performance here and there. And so I'm just kind of trying to muscle in a bigger and bigger percentage of music work and scaling the rest back. Hopefully it's going to be smooth sailing.
Awesome. You should listen to the episode with Leslie Barth, who is in day 2 of jumping ship and going full-time.
Sure.
Full-time musician, literally quit 2 days ago, and she put similar structures in place to start to shift the balance and had a support system in play, all that stuff. So yeah, that will be a good episode for you too, as you're transitioning to full-time, because it's going to happen.
Yeah, right. It absolutely is. And you always picture just winning the freelance lottery and just kind of quitting your job one fine magic day. But I decided it wasn't quite going to be like that. So instead, I'm just doing the balance.
Yeah, small opportunities and small gigs add up to the bigger changes. And sometimes it's a quantity conversation, and sometimes it's the quality conversation. You get one thing that does it, or there are a lot of different ways to go about it, which is always a theme for me. Is there's not one way to create your own music career. Mm-hmm. So you sound like you've got a bunch of different irons and fires, and you've got this piano work, and you've got the Barton Brothers, and then you have your composing work. And I wear multiple hats too, and it keeps me not bored, and it keeps the multiple streams of income balanced. So if you've got a bad month in one, good month in another. So you're starting to see that, which is cool.
Absolutely. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm tempted to, or I always am feeling like I should kind of cut things out and specialize, but I have, like you said, too many irons, too many fires. And right now that's, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I just can't bring myself to take anything off. I'm enjoying the balance.
Awesome. Yeah. And balance is a great word. Sometimes people think balance is between being busy and then having rest, but sometimes it's more about being able to do a bunch of things that you love and feeling like you're getting enough time with each of them to do them well, mm-hmm. and being fulfilled by it. So great.
Yeah.
So what are the struggles that you're looking at right now in your music career? What's the big thing that pops up right now when you hear that word struggle?
I think the narrative that pops into my head when I think about what's my struggle is just this repeating sentence of where does the money come from? And, the reality is I know where it comes from, and I just like want it sooner than later. You know, I see those income streams, and they're in place and they're starting to build. But it's like at this point, like you said, a matter of quality and quantity. But the structures are in place. But that's definitely the biggest struggle, getting that mix of predictable income with the unpredictable, the passive with the steady. I'm, you know, trying to get that portfolio in a place that that allows for the full time transition. But that is, you know, I'm such a unique struggle, right? Where does it
Yeah. Yeah. I've never heard of this struggle before. I don't even
I
know
don't
what
know,
to talk about.
groundbreaking
Wondering where the money
content,
comes
but
with the music industry. I mean, it's like
someone should write a book about that.
alien almost. You're an alien. Uh, so you're not alone. Let's get real
Correct.
here. You're not alone. That is such a good question. And it is a question that I look at all the time. And, you know, I got an offer to score a play at a theater gig, a local theater, not to write a musical or anything, but to actually write music that they would play recorded. So it
Sure.
was like scoring. It was very bizarre job, and they have this great budget, and that's not usually in my wheelhouse of things like that. And it's just like, yeah, there's good money here. This sounds interesting. I will take this. And I have my little compass for what gigs I will take. In the beginning, it was almost like I would take any gig, and I realized that that was sending me down a rabbit hole of getting a lot of gigs I didn't want and taking away from gigs that I did want that I could have gotten. So at some point, there's like a fine line between knowing what the ideal gig is and going after those versus taking just anything that comes along. And it sounds like you're pretty clear on what you want to be doing at what level you want to be doing it to.
I try to be, but it seems like it takes a lot of faith to be willing to turn down something that doesn't align with your goals when, you know, especially when you're worried about the money, to have faith that like this doesn't align you know, with my mission, and like trust that saying that no will leave you open to a yes that's more in line. But that's a scary proposition when you're turning down work.
Yeah. Have you had that situation come up yet?
Uh, Definitely. I'm getting a little bit better at saying no, and part of it is just like kind of trying to raise my prices to
Mm,
take myself out of the running for certain things that I would kind of wind up having to say no to. So it's happening naturally, I would say.
awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, like playing gigs for $20 that, you know, I played a gig in Germany and they put me up in this like really like it was dangerous. Like I'm lucky I'm here. I
Oh
don't, it was like
no.
an alley. I slept in an alley basically. And I was like, I probably should have said no to this gig, but I was like, oh, it's in Hamburg and I'm touring internationally. It's one of my first
Exactly.
international tours. But yeah, you know, I look back on that. I'm like, yep, right now I would be like, I'm sorry, where am I? Where are you putting me up? Nope.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say no to this one. And composing gigs that, you know, the product is, you know, that shows up where I'm like, I'm not in line with this product, or I got asked to score a comedy web series and they use the C word, like like, I was just like, this doesn't feel like, I wouldn't show this to my mother, be like,
Right.
Mom, look at my newest project. So I was like, that doesn't feel like partnership to me if I'm like uncomfortable. So
Yeah. Well, that's usually a pretty good barometer. What would you share with your mom? But
yeah. Um, so what would be like, if you got a phone call right now offering you the next gig, what would, like in a perfect world, what would that be? Would it be a scoring thing? Would it be a festival that you're playing with your band, or what would be the number one, like, yes, this is the phone call I've been waiting for, or email or text or Snapchat or whatever it is?
yeah, my dream Snapchat would be let's see. I got to say, like, the most relevant one that has to do with what I'm pitching the most actively would be a custom scoring work for advertising. And so, um, being on the being on like the freelance demo list for some companies has been fine, but the dream email would be something having to do with being like a staff composer, someone that's like always going to get the call, something that's a little bit more predictable, where you know where you stand with a music house. I think would be the dream email.
Yeah. And it's tricky when we're, as composers, when we go out and we're pitching these music houses, basically saying, hey, would you put me on your freelance roster, meaning would you call me when you get jobs and your staff composers can't handle it? Usually you're demoing for them. But that's a really, really different request than, hi, I would like to apply for a staff composer job. So have you been making that request?
That's funny. When I say it out loud, it's something I've literally never asked for, because I assume just like being on the demo freelance list is as good as it gets.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe it's as good as it gets if you want that freedom of the lifestyle and you want all the options. When you're a staff composer, depends on your contract, you may not be able to freelance for other houses. So, I mean, there's ups and downs to every choice that you can make. But if that is the dream call, that might be a request to start making for some of these people, you know?
That's a decent point. There's very few, I'm in Boston, and there's very few music houses based in Boston, but there's one that I have a decent relationship, and that may just be a conversation worth having for sure.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I wonder, because this is video in addition to audio podcast, I wonder if at the end here we could see one of your spots that you've been able to write for.
I can cue that up.
Yeah, you should send that to me. Great. By the way, you guys, I didn't say danbartonmusic.com is where you can find all the things that Dan does, and you'll be able to find links to all of the stuff, including the bartonbros.com. I'm sure we can link to that from danbartonmusic.com. So if you were to right now,
there's a link right in there.
Great. I love it. I love easy to find links. So if you wanted to right now play one piece of music for a bunch of musicians listening, what would that be? What project would it be from? What hat would you be wearing when you talk about it?
I would say that there's last fall I started putting out solo piano work on streaming on Spotify, and I did that for a multitude of reasons. I started doing that right when I started to scale down from my day job and have that time to compose more several days a week. And I said, I've got to capitalize on this. And so I'm going to start writing. And, what I did was to start writing, instead of asking for music agencies to call me with, whatever they have, I wanted to start making the music that I would like to be called for. And then started writing that and putting it out. And so I think I'll play one of those tracks, which has had some good indie playlisting success and just crossed the 20,000 Spotify streams just this week. And that's been a really exciting thing to have a personal project that was part marketing project be all of a sudden something that's doing its own work.
That's amazing. So if solo piano project is, you've hit the 20,000 streams, how did you go about doing that?
Well, I, started at the top target, Spotify playlist. There's like relaxing piano with 3 million subscribers, and figured there has to be a smaller fish than that. And indeed, there's, some really great solo piano study music playlists with from 1,000 to 20,000 followers that list their emails in the description, to have their websites, and there's a really nice community of composers who make music like this that build each other up. And so I just started making the rounds, and once you get into one, it starts to lend credibility to getting music in the others. And it's really nice. It's cool to be on the back end of Spotify and start to see the algorithm working. People saving the tracks correlates with getting in some Discover Weekly, and you can see how one thing, spirals up, hopefully to the top, to those Spotify curated branded playlists. And so that's the mountain I'm trying to climb with these.
Awesome. Really nice job. You are seriously doing the work. You are pitching perfectly.
Oh, so perfect.
Might I say? And I'm really excited to hear this song. So you guys, Dan Barton, check him out. He is making it work, moving and shaking. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all your insights and sharing your stories and stuff. And good luck with continuing the transition from 50% to whatever, 100%.
2018.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much.
forget to rate, like, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube if you like this podcast. Musicians like you keep me inspired and motivated, and for doing that, I'm offering you a free 6-page guide to pitching. This guide will unlock the keys to priming your pitch, where you can get started getting a yes when you pitch anything to anyone. Grab it at inthekey.co/prime. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Key Conversations. The theme song on this podcast was provided by yours truly. If you're interested to find out more about my composing and songwriting projects, go to inthekey.co/Cheryl. If you're a musician looking to get some real results for your music career, then head to inthekey.co/results, where I've created a bunch of different kinds of resources just for you. Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their point-and-click editor. All of the features you can imagine for a possible website are built in. So, because you're a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special month free trial plus 15% off if you do decide to sign up. Just for you. Go to inthekey.co/make-a-site to get the offer.